Hello, my name is Charlie Walton. I'm with BPM Microsystems Field Service Team. Today I'm going to show you how to change a Y belt, how to align it and adjust it correctly, and then how to adjust the tension correctly. For this you'll need a set of SAE Allen wrenches, hex wrenches. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the plastic front cover, and that'll be 6 screws. Okay, next we're going to remove this block with the attached tooling ball out of the sleeve of this front slider bar. Okay, 2 screws. I would like to mention that as part of annual PM, put a little bit of grease on this tooling ball so that it slides in and out of the sleeve and doesn't rust up. Okay, next we're going to remove this entire front rail. It's held on by 6 bolts from the inside at 3 locations, and be careful not to let this slider slide off the end. Okay, and out it comes. Be very careful and set it where it will not move. Okay, next we're going to remove this front plate at the front of the Y beam, the Y arm. 2 screws underneath. And the front plate should slide right out. Okay. Now we have access to the front Y belt idler assembly. Okay, so looking inside of the Y beam, you can see the belt. You can see the idler assembly on the front. There's the shaft, 2 screws, top and bottom button head screws, 2 flanged bearings, and then a pulley with 2 set screws on this shaft. The height of the pulley is important once you get everything back together. Next inside you'll see that there's a belt clamp. The belt clamp is held on by 2 screws, and you have to remove the fiber optic camera, old style, or the LED light bar for new style to access the 2 screws. And then at the other end there's a pulley on the Y motor. And you don't need to mess with that pulley. Once you remove the front idler assembly, that will free the belt that you can then slip it off of the pulley off the motor. On the belt clamp, there's 4 bolts. And when you remove the clamp, separate the clamp and put the new belt in, before you get it all tightened up, you need to make sure that the height of the belt in the clamp and the height of the belt on the pulley is all in line with the height of the pulley of the motor, so that everything is in a straight line. If it's not, the belt will bind and you'll start having pick and place errors. It's also important to note that when you rebolt the belt clamp to the lower plate, make sure that it is lined up with the belt and not too far in or too far out, which also would put the belt in a bind. But from here, it's simply a matter of disassembling the idler so that you free the belt, and then free the belt clamp, put in the new belt, get it attached to the motor. Of course, there's the slot at the bottom of the Y beam that you can stick a finger in there and get to the belt to get it onto the motor pulley. And then you reassemble in reverse order. Note that while you're here, this is where you would be replacing the Y motor if you so desired. Okay, so before we do any belt work, we have to loosen the belt, and that's going to be done by sliding the motor, which is on 4 elongated holes, and there's 4 screws. So we loosen these screws, and that will allow the motor to slide forward, loosening the belt. Okay, now the motor is all the way forward and the belt is loose. And now you can see that the belt is loose. Now we can remove the idler assembly. You'll want to check both bearings to make sure that they spin freely and they're not rough. If they are rough, you'll need to replace them. Okay, and this is the Y idler assembly. You would inspect and make sure that the pulley looks good, both bearings are okay, and at this point you would come in and remove and replace the belt. Okay, I have access now to the 2 screws that hold the belt clamp. And I'll have to unhook the belt from the Y motor. There it is. You can make marks on the belt clamp so that when you get the new belt in there, it's aligned before you tighten it. I would also like to point out that there are 4 holes right here that will also allow access to the 4 holes of the clamp for fine tuning. The new belt roughly centered in the clamp. The bolts are a little bit loose so I can adjust the height of the belt as necessary. Now I'm going to reinstall it inside the arm and hook it again back onto the Y motor. There we go. It's now hooked to the motor. Now I want to get it onto the idler. I'm not worried about connecting the belt clamp at this time. Okay, idler is tight. The belt clamp is floating this time. Go ahead and attach it. So re-tighten the belt clamp. With each screw a little bit at a time. I'll make sure that Alright. Now we're going to adjust the tension of the Y belt. Okay, so I have a little trick for tightening the Y belt. You could have somebody push on it while you tighten screws, but if you're by yourself, I find that with just a little bit of ingenuity in the form of leverage, with a couple of Allen wrenches, using that slotted hole, you can get the belt good and tight this way. You want the belt really tight. You want to take as much slack out of it as possible. Okay, now that the belt is tight, let's go back down here one more time to the clamp. We'll go loosen and tighten. Make sure that it's all in a row. Notice I have this pushed all the way, pulled all the way forward, and then we can tighten it up. And you want to make sure it's tight. If it's loose, you'll have a lot of pick and place errors and motion timeout errors. It's called slop. Slop is defined as excessive play, looseness. Okay? So, we're going to eyeball this and make sure that it's smooth throughout the entire range of travel, no binding. The belt is level all the way across. Okay? And then we'll finally tighten the screws over here. Now we'll just replace the end cap. Install this beam. Okay, very important, when you're tightening the beam, you want to lift it all the way up. Lift it all the way up before you tighten. This will make sure that the head has plenty of clearance for your tape feeders, and your tape loaders, and your tray stackers. And finally, our plexiglass cover. Of course, do not over tighten the screws that hold the plexiglass. You don't want to crack the plexiglass. You'll notice that I did not power the machine down for this Y-bell change. The fact that the door is open, the interlock has cut power to the Y motor so that it can spin freely. Okay, and we'll need to install back this block with the tooling ball and sleeve. And the purpose of this, of course, is there's no way to get the front and rear X linear rails perfectly parallel. So we have a sliding tooling ball that compensates for that. And the weight of this head, this arm, puts about 3 pounds of pressure. So it's not carrying a lot of weight, not a lot of load. And then we'll start BP Win and run an XY drift test to make sure it passes. Thank you for watching this video on how to change and adjust the tension of a Y-axis belt on a 3000 series auto handle. If you have any further questions, please contact us at tech@bpmmicro.com. Thank you.